Hey everybody, welcome, happy Friday. Whitney with Girl Friday Crafts here. Yep, I am late. I'm so sorry for those of you who are in my VIP group on Facebook. You were probably fully prepared for me to be late. But that just sort of, a couple of things this morning. Work-wise that I needed to take care of that took longer than I expected. No, don't do that. Okay. Pulling up YouTube on my phone so I can see comments. Hey Myrna, I hope you're still here. Appreciate you hanging out. So we're gonna jump right in. I have like 15 things to tell you and show you. And of course, I got all kinds of last minute ideas as I was getting everything ready. I was like, oh, we should try this. Oh, we should try this. It's been a minute since I've been truly live with you all on a Friday. So I'm really excited to be here. Happy Halloween, even though we're working on Christmas. If I wasn't in the middle of show prep and needed to be doing some Christmas stuff, we would actually be probably doing a Halloween project today. But I have a big event tomorrow that I'm not completely ready for yet, and one next week, 2-day event next week that I'm also not completely ready for yet. But you know what? It's going to be what it's going to be. And at the end of the day, it's all going to be fine. So a couple of things I wanted to tell you real quick. Of course, I closed the email, but I just saw in my email that Chalk Couture Black Friday specials have already started. There's a free bundle. There's some sort of BOGO. I haven't even looked at it yet. So check that out. If you follow me on Facebook, I'll be posting it. If you don't follow me on Facebook, there is a link in the video with how to do that. There are no project links yet in the video description because I didn't know what we were going to do today. I will go back and do those, but there should be a link to my freebie Fridays. So every Friday I am dropping a new principle on my website. That link should be there. It's girlfridaycrafts.com /freebie -Friday. They're free for a week and then they go into my store for $2, so you can still access them. There will probably be some Black Friday specials around like bundling stuff together, but this is this week's. Actually, I'm going to show them on this camera because it's a little better. So it's a set of gift tags. You actually get 2 pages of these, and we're going to do this because you don't need to see me. You get 2 pages of the tags. These are a little shorter, but they're good size. And then you get 2 pages of this music sheet sort of background. There's no actual song. I don't know what it is, if it's an actual song, but I've been very into double-sided tags lately. I apologize for the background noise. So I wanted to give you some background paper so that you could print, glue these onto the background paper and cut them so that they're double-sided. So that is this week's Freebie Friday. The link should be in the video description. I will make sure that it is there. So those are free until next Friday when I will be dropping something new for you. All right, so this is a layering workshop. We're going to talk about how to layer with using Chalk Couture transfers. And layering involves multiple things. One is just layering on top of a painted surface. I have just been messing things up. I have a bunch of earrings here that I've been working on, and I was painting these still this morning, and I laid them down on my earrings and got pink paint, and these are one of my favorites. I mean, I can easily remake one, but I was mad. And then apparently I got red on this somehow. But these are the Chalk Couture 3D trees that came out. I don't even remember when. We've had these for a minute. You slide them together like this, and then they stand up. I'm going to turn my front-facing camera back on here in a second so I can show you. Takes a little bit. of maneuvering, which is also why we're going to seal this before we do this again. And once you paint them, it takes a little bit. But let me bring my front-facing camera back. But then they stand like this, so they're little 3D. And actually, once I seal them, honestly, that'll probably be easier because then they will, it'll be smoother. Okay, I'm not gonna make you watch me. Try to pull these apart. Come on. This is why we don't do things live. Oh, goodness. Okay, so in terms of layering, like I said, there's layering on top of a painted surface. So that's what we're going to do here. And then there's layering on top of a chalked design. So we're going to do that too, hopefully. So I am going to give myself a timer because, of course, I do have something at noon. I can skip it, but depending on where we are, we'll see. So what we're going to do with these, if I can find the transfer that I wanted, I kind of like the unusual, unexpected. So we've seen lots of really pretty things with these trees. There's a damask pattern, damask, I think is actually the proper way to pronounce it, but there's a damask pattern that looks really pretty on these. I've seen people do these with some of the plaid patterns that look really pretty, but I was playing around and pulling out transfers today, and I pulled out this Jolly Ornaments pattern, and I think that would be really cute. So we're going to play around with that and see what that looks like. And got a couple of different colors of paste. And we're going to play with, I'm curious about something, so we're going to try it. So this is 2 coats of just regular acrylic paint. And as you can see, I'll show you. You can still see just a little bit of that MDF underneath. So this material really, really, really soaks up paint. I'm going to try, when we get to the next project, I'm going to try the home decor chalk paint and see what happens, to see if there's any difference in how much paint that absorbs. Because if the home decor, if the chalk paint doesn't take as much, I might start that when I do these kinds of projects. You can paint with the Chalk Couture chalk paste. I don't, unless it's something small, because of how much paste it takes. A $10 jar of chalk paste versus a $4 jar of acrylic paint, bottle of acrylic paint. I'm going to use the acrylic paint. So when you're layering, and I don't always do this, and people who watch me know I don't always do this, but when you're layering, especially if you're new to it and you're layering on acrylic paint that has not had 24 hours to completely dry and cure, I always recommend to people that they use the surface wax. Now, I don't know if there's anything else that you can use in lieu of the surface wax. This is not the same thing as your like distressing wax or anything like that, but it creates this sort of barrier, makes your surface nice and smooth, so that when you are pulling up your transfer, it doesn't bring up any of your surface paint. So we're going to let that sit for a second. Now, do I always do that? No. Have I gotten lucky when I've not done it? Yeah. Have I gotten screwed over when I've not done it? Yeah. So, you know, it is a mixed bag. For me, it kind of depends on how big the surface is. It depends on whether or not I'm using a completely brand new transfer, which I am right now. So I am going to not only fuzz this quite a bit, but I am going to use that surface wax because this is new. Now, if this was a transfer that I've used a lot, I may or may not use the surface wax. Might just kind of depend on my mood. Or, you know, if there's distressing in the transfer, sometimes I don't, because if it pulls something up, you're not necessarily going to be able to tell because there's distressing in that transfer. I need to wash this fuzzing cloth. Apparently, it's getting stuff all over my. I also need to clean this mat. Actually, probably need to get a new one. That mat's kind of a hot mess. Okay, so I do often put stuff on top of my backer sheet so that when my backer sheet, if the surface is smaller and the backer sheet's going to be kind of hanging off, I will do this so that my backer sheet is sticking to the or so that my transfer is sticking to the backer sheet and not sticking to my mat here. I'm going to do this kind of sideways. So we can get a decent amount of the ornaments on the tree, so you can kind of be able to tell what it is. Oh, I didn't. Well, okay. Do this right. Sorry. So what you're supposed to do after you put the surface wax on, this I forget because I don't use it, is to take the other side of your wax applicator and sort of buff some of that off. And part of the reason you want to do that is so that any excess doesn't end up clogging the negative space of your transfer. Okay, there we go. And we got it. Okay, we're gonna make sure we lay that down nice and smooth. This will also make a paste and peel, which we're going to do right now, a whole lot easier because it's going to help that transfer pull up a little bit better, and we won't have as many problems trying to get that transfer up multiple times without pulling up any of the. I think it is time for me to invest in some new shimmer gold. It's drying up on me a little bit. So I'm going to take my distilled water and a little stir stick. I'm going to mix this up a little bit. I need to take my multi-tool. The curved edge of this multi-tool is really designed to like scrape the inside of your jar and get all of that paste back together. I've been trying storing my jars upside down. I'm not sure I like it. I don't think it makes any difference in terms of keeping them from drying out, and it kind of makes it messy. So might go back to storing them bright side up. So how is everybody today? Tell me about your Halloween plans. We typically, I'm assuming everybody's trick-or-treating tonight. In years past, we've had in our neighborhood when Halloween's been on Friday, they've often done Friday and Saturday to allow like people to go to like trunk or treat and stuff like that, and still trick or treat in the neighborhood. But I have not seen anything about that. So I'm assuming that it's just tonight. We always do Halloween. We always do trick or treating on Halloween here in our community, whether it's a school night or not. It usually starts around 4. Now, if it is a school night, especially with the younger kids, they will be out like by 4:30. But with it being a Friday, I'm not sure that we'll have any that early. We go out to eat on Fridays, so I'm assuming we'll go out to eat tonight as usual, and then I'll come home. And I usually sit on the porch, and it's finally getting cooler there. Yeah, it's been really hot for you for a while, Myrna. We've had the cooler weather for a bit now, of course. As I've feared, I think we're completely bypassing like the 65 to 75 because it's been in the 50s. But I haven't looked at like the weekend. We have a fire pit. I told my husband like we should do a fire this weekend, maybe tomorrow night when I get home from my event. So the last time I used this transfer, I didn't really do this sort of starburst design. So I wanted to do that this time because it's really, I think they're cool. They're just some of my favorite kind of like old vintage ornaments are these starburst ones. And I do have a really pretty one. Sheer gold. Peel this up, and that's just going to come up nice and easy because of that surface wax. Had I not used the wax, then we might have had a little more difficulty, especially because I just put the second coat of paint on these trees this morning. I was trying to be good. I never get anything painted 24 hours in advance. I try. Even when I'm like, okay, I have to paint a bunch of stuff. I'll get it painted and then I didn't even need to close that. And then like I'll get the first coat on, but I never get a second coat on. Painting's one of those things that like you like in your head, you're like, oh, this should take 15 minutes. It doesn't. It doesn't. Even paint, I think that's why I put off making earrings. Like I wanted to make earrings for this event tomorrow and for my event next weekend. And I kept putting it off, and I think I kept putting it off because I had to paint them, and it just takes so much time. Let's see. We are going to use the Chalk Couture teal. See, this is what happens when I store my ink upside, or my paste, well, my inks too, upside down, and I just don't like that. I mean, I just use it out of the lid, that's fine, but it gets kind of messy. Actually, I'm gonna do something first. Okay, so we're gonna take my detail tool, and so we've got these little edges of negative space right along here, pushing up to where that gold is in the middle. So I'm going to take my detail tool and go around that first. I need to find out. So this is one of my favorite tools because of this really small squeegee tip. It is really nice for this little kind of detail work. It is not available right now, or at least last time I looked it wasn't, because they needed to find a new manufacturer. It has a metal piece on the inside, and apparently there was an issue. They never said. My guess is it had something to do with tariffs. With that continuing to get this manufactured, but they were looking for a new manufacturer or some sort of alternative design to bring it back. Now we do have the multi-tool still, and that does also have a smaller squeegee tip on it, and has this sort of like pencil-like design, which I like because it gives you a little bit more control. But it's not quite as small as the detail tool. Let's see. Am I in? Okay, just making sure I'm in the camera view. I'm still sort of adjusting to this new camera and how much visual space I have, and also trying to keep my head out of the over like this. And sometimes you end up seeing the top of my head and not what I'm doing. I normally put together trick-or-treat bags for the kiddos. We're just gonna do this. I'm not gonna be that picky today. Because we usually have upwards of 60 trick-or-treaters. We have lots of littles in our neighborhood. But I have not had time to put those together, and I don't think I'm gonna have time before trick-or-treating starts. So it's all just gonna get dumped in a bowl, and they're just gonna get thick. But I do have these cute, I may have shown them. Well, I don't think I showed them because I couldn't find them, but I think I talked about them. I have these really cute little glow-in-the-dark resin, like Halloween characters, like a ghost, a witch, a skeleton, and stuff. Because I always try to do something in addition to candy. Clear that up. And again, I mean, like that's coming up just kind of perfect because we used that surface wax. And we're just gonna, I'm not gonna do this whole thing because again, this isn't about like, I mean, I'll finish it later, but this isn't about the finished project as much as it is about the technique. So we'll do a little bit more. I don't get red for these little cherries or berries. I don't think red really fits. Ooh, but Jolene would. Okay, Jolene, that would work. thief with trying to open the lid that I've been folding upside down. And that's what happens. So it makes a big old mess. So I'm not loving it. I'm not loving it. Off my finger before it goes everywhere. A little squeegee that I had cut in half. It's not tricky because I have a little bit of the couture teal really close to this little berry. Careful how I move that. Took me a very long time to get comfortable doing paste and peel. And when I first started, I did actually use surface wax quite a bit to help me initially, so that if the paste started to dry out on me, it stuck a little bit less. Pulled out gravity, but I think we're going to use ivy for this greenery. And let's get my multi-tool for this. And I just really like this pencil. I like being able to hold this like a pencil when I'm doing smaller detail. I just feel like I have more control over it. You can also just use the corner of a squeegee. That works too. Just need something a little bit smaller to get into these spaces. Need a little bit right there. And go ahead and do this right here. I pay attention to what of the other pieces are actually on the tree. Being super brave here. Again, I think the surface wax will sort of save me, and two, when I go to put this back down later and finish this and line it up, the more I have already on here, the more I will be able to use to get it in the right spot. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of these greenery pieces. What I remembered about these trees when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do today, because actually I would have remembered over the weekend probably, but for my event next weekend, I bought these because I wanted them for my booth space. So I'm going to make at least one set because they come in 2 different sizes. And then if I end up to decide if I want to either make a little bundle with the others with some paste and squeegee. I want to just hold on to them. Because really, these don't have to be Christmas trees, right? Like you can just make them a winter scene. Oh, actually, be cute. So in the Tiffany holiday release, there is a woodland scene with Bigfoot in it and all these other cute little woodland animals. And my sister has a thing about Bigfoot. That would be really cute to make for her for Christmas. Using that scene and make sure that the Bigfoot is really prominent. Okay. So we're going to drop that down in here. So that is just the sort of basic layering on top of a painted surface. Really nothing tricky about it. It's really just making sure you're using that surface wax. I think that really matters. Ideally, you're going to paint your surface and let it dry and let it cure for 24 hours before you chalk on it. If you don't have time to do that, that surface wax will save you. I mean, it will just, it's a game changer if you're needing to like move quickly. And so thank you, Myrna. Yeah, I think it's going to look really cool. The look that I had in my head, I think is what's going to happen when I get this finished. So I'll wash that transfer and line it back up and put it down and finish that. And then, so here's the size of the smaller trees kind of in comparison. Actually, what would be really cute on these is to paint the smaller trees teal and then kind of do the reverse, right? So like do the ornaments in pink, maybe with silver instead of gold or something like that. So they coordinate, but they're not like matchy. All right, so there is that. Figure out one thing real quick. Get myself a place to put this out of the way. And I'm going to need my drying tool. And so now we're going to layer on top of a chalked surface. So put that over there. Trying to decide. I have a couple of things here I was thinking about. This might be better because it's smaller. So I did want to show you all how to make something like this work. But maybe we'll keep this for next Friday because this isn't exactly layering. This is just, I mean, it is, but it's lining everything up. So maybe we'll keep that for next Friday because that needs a bigger surface. So what I was thinking about was, I'm a little worried this might be kind of busy. Maybe not. Hey, Jean, how are you? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think it's going to be really cute. So we have these little tags, which I also love. I've done a couple, and I should have thought to grab them and show you what they look like. I used that ho 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 pattern. Here's the coasters. So we have a white one would be helpful so you can see it. We have a repeating transfer that's a repeating pattern, and I've just put it on back of coasters, but I've put it on these tags too as like a back side, and I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with the front. So we have this music sheet. It's not actually a song. We have is it Jingle Bells? But I couldn't put my hands on it at the moment. I am reorganizing my transfers because I don't like how I have them stored, and I have found a new way that I like better, but I haven't gotten everything moved over. Okay, so first thing we need to do though is paint these. And so this is going to be our experiment as to whether or not, let's see, the folk art chalk paint uses less to paint these surfaces than just regular acrylic paint. I hate shaking this up because it gets up in the lid, but it's been sitting a while. So this is the sheepskin. I don't like using bright white as a background for most things. I like an off-white. So I have this in sheepskin, but also in Adirondack, which is a really pretty, gives you a really pretty base color. Okay, I should have shaken that up a little bit more. I think that is super thick. All right, let's see if we can make this work. So we are going to paint really quick. I'm going to have my drying tool. The other thing that's hard about white paint, I've found, we had this problem with a couple of, I have no idea how I did that. How do I have it all over my hand? Oh, because it got all over the lid. Okay. I mean, I always say if you're not making a mess, you're not doing it right, but I also find it entertaining when I made a mess and I have no idea how I did it. We had, like, I taught two different classes where we were painting wood cutout ghosts, and it took like 3 coats of white to get those ghosts to be like a bright white, to not have that sort of dingy look because you could see the background of the wood. Now, I did not use primer. If I'd used a primer, that might have been different. So I guess next time I can try that. And if I'm teaching a class, I can just put primer on everybody's stuff first. That is actually something that I learned in a decoupage class, that if you are decoupaging on wood and you're using a white decoupage paper or tissue paper or something like that, you actually want to put a primer on it first, because otherwise, over time, any of the oils or like discoloration and stuff in the wood is going to show through on your underneath your decoupage paper. And white paint does not do the same thing as primer does, because primer is designed to block those things from coming through. Would have never thought about that. Okay, so that's drying pretty quickly. It is going to need a second coat, but I do feel like the coverage on this is thicker. So we'll see what that second coat looks like. I'm going to plug my drying tool in real quick. Maybe. Now, if y'all can hear me over this, I know this drying tool is supposedly not terribly loud. It seems loud to me. Now, this is one of those circumstances where, unless I am using a transfer that I know has lost almost all of its sticky, even I would consistently use the surface wax, because not only is this not going to have time to cure, to be perfectly honest, it's probably not even going to be completely dry. Even with the drying tool. And then once you put that adhesive transfer on it, it just creates more of a situation where it's going to pull your paint up off of your surface. And especially with as thick as this chalk paste is, which I need to, I don't think it's, I mean, this is obviously thicker than acrylic. It's supposed to be thicker than acrylic. Just this consistency doesn't feel right to me. I might need to get a plastic knife or something and stir that up a little bit. That's one thing I realized the other day, kind of the weird things that we need to keep in our craft space. I need plastic utensils down here because I need the handles. Like, I was using my gator hide the other day, and you're supposed to stir it, obviously, before you use it, and it didn't have anything to start with, so I used the end of a paintbrush and just, stuck that down in the water with everything else. I was like, oh, like plastic knives or something would be nice to have down here. And then I can just put them in I usually almost always have water down here, either for chalk stuff or paintbrushes, and just put them in the water. And then, clean that off. Clean whatever off that I need to stir. I always end up in that situation when I'm using the sea spray too, because you have to stir that, and I don't ever have anything to stir it with. So that looks pretty good for 2 coats. So I think for my general consensus that I'm going to say yes, the chalk paint covers these MDF surfaces better than acrylic. because I feel like if I was using an off-white or white acrylic paint, you would still be able to see the MDF through that even after just 2 coats of paint. And we are going to do this one without painting it, just so y'all can see kind of what these look like, what the difference is if you've painted it versus not painted it. So I can do this pretty easily at the same time. If I can get the bag open. Do not get a base color for this. You know what I'm going to do? Grab that real quick. And we're not going to do the music notes in black because I don't want it to be a really strong color in the background. So we are going to So on this one, we're going to use our grays. On this one, we're going to use Storm because I do want it to pop. I do want you to be able to see it. And I'm not sure. Well, actually, I'm curious. Let's just try it. I'm going to use grays on both. Change my mind. Okay, so I'm going to take this and we're going to again fuzz this really well. Don't have to have a fuzzing cloth to do this, but they are my favorite. Partially because when I wash a transfer, if I need to use it again really quick, I can use the terry cloth side to dry that transfer and not have to just sit and wait for it to air dry, which is really nice. So it kind of serves dual purposes for me. Which will come in handy because in a few weeks, Monday before Thanksgiving, I am teaching a doormat class in person with 20 people. And I think I'm going to be doing a lot of washing of transfers for people to be able to use. I need to go through my stash of the right size transfers and see what I've got and then figure out what I need to order. Which I should have done before the site-wide sale ended yesterday. But I really wanted to look at what I have already first, and I just had not had a chance to do that. But Black Friday specials are starting already, then I should be able to get a pretty decent deal on what I might need. And I know I have a good supply of C-size transfers, so line these up, trying to be able to do them both at the same time. Do it this way. Ooh, that's sticking. Oh, ha! Well, I didn't wax these first. Oops. That would have been bad. Now, here I am trying to teach how to do it right. I don't know if you saw how much that was sticking. That is 100% why you use this wax in a situation like this. And especially with this, actually pulled a little bit of color off my transfer. With this chalk paint being so much thicker, even more important. Now, this you don't have to. This is a very nice smooth surface. It's chalk surface, kind of designed to be used with the transfers and the other products. So if I was running my hand over that one and it was there were any rough spots or anything, then I might put a little bit of wax on it, but I don't think that's going to be necessary. Do that. And then I'm going to put these on here in an offset, and then I should be able to get them lined up so that we're not leaving out the top part with the music notes. Trying to make it straight. This. And I'm going to get my rouge. And I'm going to take my squeegee. I don't know what this is all about, right? Just covering up all of our negative space here. This grayish, we have 3 shades of gray now, which I love. We have the Storm, which was the original, which is kind of a middle gray. And we have Ash, which just came out a couple months ago, which is a dark gray. And see, that's coming up just nice and smooth, no issues or problems, and that's because of that wax. And then, you know, this, which is just a light grayish, is the gray version of beige, hence the name. So, because there have been a couple of times I like to use Storm as a base color for things, but a couple of times where that's been just a little bit too dark. Like I just didn't want something that dark. And then a couple of times where I wanted something darker. So I like that we have that nice mix there. Kind of like when they added the vanilla in as well, because it's not quite as yellow as Dune. It's not as bright as white. So you've got that. I need to order some more vanilla. Vanilla is getting dried out, and I'm not sure that I can rectify it. I was using it yesterday for something. I was like, oh. And there's not that much left, and I find that when the jars are getting closer to the bottom and they're starting to dry out, I have a harder time with my distilled water kind of reactivating that. So we've got those. Now I like to paint the surfaces most of the time before I do something, just because I like how this looks better than this, but that's just personal preference. And then we're going to dry these real quick. Yeah, I like beige a lot. Yep, it's really pretty. Because this is Storm, and for what I want to do, that would just be too dark. Now, Storm might have been the better choice on this. Ash would have been way too dark for what I'm wanting to do. All right, so then, now I'm not sure from a thematic, lack of a better word, perspective. That this is going to work, but I wanted just a little bit of a background and then to be able to put something on top of it where we could use bright colors. Had a lot in the design. Oh, that was cool. The whole thing won't fit, but I still think that would be neat. So these are the holiday stamps. This is from last year. We have a postage stamp one from this year too, but I haven't cut that one up yet. So I'm going to take this. Now this has a lot. Oh, okay, first we're going to make sure this is dry. Hard to tell sometimes when you have paint all over your fingers already. Yeah, this is dry. So when you do something like this, you're going to then apply another layer of surface wax because you want to create the same protective barrier on your chalk background that you have created for your paint. I don't need quite as much, especially for this because the chalk paste does not cover the whole entire design. So we've still, kind of got that protective layer there. But without the wax, what could potentially happen, and again, it's going to vary. Like if I let this sit for 24 hours and let this chalk paste completely dry and cure, if I was using a transfer that was older and, maybe not quite as sticky, could I do what I wanted to do here without having to wax it? Possibly. Possible that I would do all that and still have a problem. Yeah. So it's one of those things, if you want to be on the safe side and make sure that you're not going to have any difficulties, we advise using surface wax. So I'm going to lay this on top. Try to get it somewhere in the middle. It's kind of hard to visualize with that. About right. I'm actually going to grab a different color. So this is my favorite shimmer red. It's called Bite Me. It was the color of the month last year, I think. And I'm going to do the whole thing, even though the whole design isn't going to fit. I still think that what will fit is really pretty. So we're going to cover some of those music notes. Some of them are going to show up in kind of weird places. This transfer has a lot of negative space, which is actually a good one to kind of test out, you know, sort of how we've done here with our layering, because there's not as much sticky. So it gives you a little bit of grace, a little bit more forgiving, as is this shimmer paste. I often find that our shimmers are a little bit more forgiving as well. And I will paint the back side of this, probably, maybe, I don't know, maybe not. I normally paint both sides of things, but not on this one. See what it looks like when it's all dry and what I think. Because I could paint the backside and then kind of repeat the music notes, but use a different one of the postage stamps or something completely different. I'm going to pull this up, and again, that's going to pull up nice and smooth. Get that all the way down in my water. Get that red soaked off. And so that pulled up without any issues or problems. Now, if I was doing this again, what I might do is move this December 25th up so that it started closer to the top, so that it took up a little more of this empty space. But that's, again, this was really more about technique. I could also, take another transfer that we have that has like greenery on it and lay it right here and do that in green. Or I could add some ribbon or actual, greenery or little Spanish moss and something right there to take up that space, which actually I think would look really cute, and then stick some ribbon on it. But yeah, so for layering, so I talked to a lot of people who are interested in layering, and definitely needs something in that spot. Some ribbon taped around it would look really cute too, or some washi tape. All kinds of things you could do there actually. But I talk to people about layering, and I get questions about layering, and it scares people a little bit, which I understand. It scared me the first time I tried it too. But surface wax really is your friend when you're wanting to layer your a chalk transfer on top of a painted surface. If you give yourself time, if you fuzz the surface really, really well, it's kind of, Myrna, the wax is great. It's kind of 50-50 for me on whether or not waxing on that kind of situation. So like just for the tree is going to be a problem. But if I am wanting to chalk on top of a chalk design, so layer transfer on top of transfer, I'm going to wax it, because I'm not going to risk that it's going to pull up any of that paste in that design. So, okay, that's it, everybody. Thank you for being with me this Friday. And I will have a video up next Friday. It will not be live because I will be setting up for the Hobnob Market here in town. But I think I will end up doing something using this little Happy Mary everything transfer, because it's just too cute. Let me know if y'all need anything. I'm going to post everything I used in the video description. That Freebie Friday printable link, it should already be there. I'll make sure it's there if it's not. And then I will talk to y'all later. Bye, everybody. Thanks, Myrna.